far as at 2, you know, for me, I think a lot of this is recency bias a little bit just because of you know, the showcase in Boulder and everything, right, was the last thing to
Mhm.
happen. So you're seeing a lot of this trending towards Travis Hunter. Um, I had asked you in the past, and your answer had been Abdul. Have you moved off of that at all?
I like Abdul Carter. I'm not picking one or two of these guys. The only people who have to do that is Andrew Berry, right? I
Yeah,
like both of these prospects, and I'd be
same,
thrilled for both of these guys to be on the Cleveland Browns, right?
same. Yeah,
Abdul is a tremendous prospect. We got clear of that whole foot thing that I
yep,
was pretty sure was a non-thing, right? And they were pretty sure it was a non-thing.
yeah.
They got, what was it, the recombine or something like that, where you go
Uh,
back to the
they
NFL's doctors and they evaluate it.
Yeah, it's the combine, re-medical check so they were back there earlier this week to get rechecked again and, all good. He got the all good, so
So these are independent doctors, right? This is Drew Rosenhaus saying it. So that all sits there. I feel pretty comfortable. If you want to take Abdul Carter at 2, I'm not going to
yeah,
be sitting here angry. If you want to
me
take
neither.
Travis Hunter at 2, I just want, and this is the only camp I'm in, just take the premium player with the premium pick. Do not try to get cute with this. The desire to get cute with this is, I think, a result of just the draft process being too long. And, it allows you to, like football. I think Bill Belichick has this quote. It's the best quote about football. He said, football is a simple game that very, very dumb people have tried to make complicated,
Yeah,
right? It is not that difficult. When you pick a team and you are in the backyard, what do? You don't trade the first pick so you can make a bunch of picks at the end, right? When
yeah,
you're in the
yeah.
schoolyard, you go, no, I want that guy, right?
You
Because
want
that
the
guy's really good. He does backflips and stuff, right? You pick the best guy because that's the guy who gives you a good chance to win games when you have guys like that. We have learned this lesson so painfully in the
we
city
have.
of Cleveland that trading back out of these premium positions to get more picks is not a good idea. And also, I think another thing that needs to be addressed, the draft doesn't have flat odds, Brad,
I
right?
know.
Everybody talks about it like, oh, you get more picks, more chances. No,
Yeah,
you get worse chances, but
yeah,
more of them, right? Because it gets worse as you get further away from the first round and further away from the top 5. You have the number 2 overall pick. You get the second choice of every player in this draft pool. And this is a year where there are some premium players available to go get. You're not going to be able to replicate that by getting a bunch of third round picks that you get excited for 2 months. And maybe they have a cool training camp. One of them turns into a starter. But meanwhile, you're looking at, somebody who's an all pro that you could have had at number 2.
yeah,
We can't keep making this mistake.
yeah,
And that's the thing that the Browns have fallen in. Imagine if we were like, oh no, we don't need to get Myles Garrett. We could trade back and take Derek Barnett and then, get a bunch of picks. Would we be happy with that if we took the second edge, Derek Barnett
no,
or whatever it was? No,
no,
we'd be furious. Take the good player. You never regret taking the good player. What do we regret with Jed Wilson? We didn't take Tristan Wirfs.
yeah,
Not that we wish we traded back. Just take the best player that you think is there, and that's what the draft's about. It's not about trying to fulfill every position for a void on the team right now. It's just about getting good players into the building, and when you have the number 2 overall pick and there's good players right there to take them,
and
because that's what's made the Browns suck
yeah.
in previous regimes.
And it would be different if it was each draft is different this way a little bit. It'd be different if there was 8 guys that you viewed as, like, blue chip elite players, and you wanted to move back 2 to get, like, a future first or whatever, because ultimately, you have to ask the question in every move you're making, "How does this impact my ability to get my franchise quarterback?" That question has to go through your brain basically every time you make a selection. In this class, though, there are 2 blue chip non-quarterback players, that's it. There are 2 of them. You pick one of them. It's that simple, I think.
And they play, one plays two positions, the other one plays a premium position, right? So you don't even have to
Absolutely.
worry about the positional value, right? It's not like Ashton Genty, who's a phenomenal prospect,
Right.
right? Doesn't really make sense for the Browns, but a phenomenal prospect is like there, right? It's not one of those years where the guys who are available and are blue chips make no sense for you to get. It's not like, oh, the blue chips are Joe Thomas. We got Joe Thomas and the blue chips are left tackle, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, it's not one of those years where it doesn't make sense for you to get it. If that were the case, I'd be more open to trading back, but you need another edge opposite of Miles. Abdul Carter's right there. You could use a corner and you damn sure could use a wide receiver, and Travis Hunter is right there, especially one who's good at 50-50 balls. We haven't had a good 50-50 ball wide receiver
Yeah.
in eons.
Forever.
Who's the last good 50-50 ball guy we've had? What is
Braylon?
is it really going all the way back to Braylon? Like maybe Josh Gordon?
Josh Gordon.
I'm going back to when I was in high school.
Yeah.
That's the last time the Browns had a solid 50-50 ball wide receiver on the roster. But it's not been the case. Like Amari Cooper wasn't really a 50-50 ball guy, right? Like that's the only other guy I can really think of maybe being in that conversation. But that's my thing is don't overthink it. Just take good players at the good spots that you have. Just sit and pick at 2. You want to move around at 33, up or down, okay, fine, right? The whole premise of this front office and what they're trying to sell me is that they don't think that they're that far away. They just got to figure out the quarterback position. That's what Denzel Ward tells me, right? That's what David Njoku sells. That's what Myles Garrett has been trying to sell us, right? That's what this whole team has been trying to sell us. That's not a team that should be trading back to get a bunch of different value picks, right? You think that you've done a good job in these last 2 years in draft and development. And I tend to agree with it. I think these last 2 drafts have been fine. 21 and 22 drafts weren't great, but I think the 23, 24 drafts are fine. And if that's the case, why would you need to trade for all these extra picks when you don't even know if you're going to be in a cap situation to be able to retain all these extra picks? Just get good players, right? And 2 good prospects are sitting there staring you right in the face at 2. They basically don't stare a gift horse in the mouth, right? Mouth. Like just go ahead and take the reward there for getting the number 2 overall pick and get a good player. Don't overthink it. Because all these trade backs the Cleveland Browns have done in their history, and you think of all the trade backs that have ever happened, who's really ever benefited from it? Arizona got applauded by the draft community, right, for that trade they did with Houston, where they got the extra picks for the Will Campbell, well, not the Will Campbell, but the Will Anderson pick. And then Houston got shat on for that pick and all that stuff. Houston don't know what they're doing. They're just rushing this. Houston looks pretty good right now. When's the last time you've even thought about what Arizona's doing with any of those picks? Are we worried about Arizona more than we're worried about Houston? And they play in a weaker conference. So, all this trade back stuff, it's one of these things where, like, it's very hypothetical. It's fun to do if you like to do the mock draft machine because you get to pick all these guys that you studied, and because you studied them, you like them a lot, and you're like, you're convinced that they're all going to be really good, right? But once you get out the mock draft machine and start walking into practice, that's when the trade back stuff doesn't make sense because you're like, damn, I'd rather have the dude, right? Like, would you rather have a bunch of 3rd round picks or Justin Jefferson? What do you want? Get the good players.
Yeah, they passed on Julio for a trade back. Man, it's you just do the simple, the right thing, the right football move. And I think they will this year. It's pretty
And keep
clear.
in mind, I think the Browns have to use this top 5 pick when they have it because they've traded all their other first-round picks, right? People keep bringing up, well, Andrew Berry, he's not a good GM because all his best players are from other GMs, right? That's the big knock on Andrew. Well, who's the best players on the Browns right now? Denzel Ward, Myles Garrett. Where were they picked? Denzel Ward was a top 5 pick, and Myles Garrett was the number 1 overall pick. Well, I wonder why you haven't been able to replicate that level of success with pick 78, right? You have to use these picks when you get these picks because that's how you become good. Did the 49ers say, no, let's trade back. Let's not take Nick Bosa?
Yeah.
You know,
No, that
let's overthink this, right? That the Giants say, I mean, the Lions say, let's trade back. Let's not take Hutch, right? Let's go get 4 other guys and get an edge that we like in the 3rd round a lot. Like, no, that's not how you operate business. You get the good players when they're there. That is the basic fundamental rule of drafting, whether you're in the playground, whether you're in the draft room, no matter what the sport is. You don't pass on great because you want a bunch of chances at decent.
Yep. Yeah. No, you nailed it. The influx of, people talk about the age of this roster though, but adding a top 2 pick, the caliber of Carter or Hunter, uh, you know, is the influx of young talent you need, right? Star
Mm-hmm.
power, young star power. So that matters a ton.
And to your point about the age of the roster, the Browns still have 10 picks in this draft.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's a significant chunk of this roster. They're not one of these pick desolate teams. Like, Pittsburgh has like 4 picks. The Falcons have like 3 picks. Those are teams that might need to trade back to get more picks, right? The Browns have 10 picks in this draft. They have 8 picks in next year's draft, and they have all 7 of their picks in 2027, and they'll likely accumulate more picks as we go on. They're not in a pick shortage. If they want to get this roster younger, all they have to do is use their picks. That's like 30 players over the next 3 years that you're going to be adding into this roster. It's over half the roster, right? It's like 70% of the roster right there that you can churn out and get younger. So if you want this team to get younger, they have the picks to do that over the next 3 years. You don't have to do it all in 1 year.
They just got to hit. They got to get them right. Like, and like 10 picks. I mean, I'd be happy if they took 7 of them, right? Like, move around. There's a big gap. I mentioned this. There's a big gap in kind of one of the sweet value spots, I think, in this draft. Like, if you're looking later in the draft, the 5th round, and they go from 104 to like 179 without a pick. That's going to be a long wait for them where a lot of value comes off the board. It'd be nice to see them maybe maneuver into that area a little bit.
Yeah, if they want to move up into that area and take some picks here, or if they're fine with the gap. I mean, we've seen them be fine with the gap before, right? And just kind of split this draft into 3 different parts. That's fine as well. It's going to be hard to figure out who's going to make this roster with the 10 draft picks to begin with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't see the value in trading back. And it's the most, maybe this is just, I've lived through a lot with the Browns, right? But it's the most reminiscent of, this is why we stink. Like, when the Browns give you that feeling of, this is why we suck, it's when they do stuff like this on a consistent basis, right? When 2014, where they just don't want to take a player at 4 in one of the best draft classes that we've ever seen, and they keep trading back, and they end up with Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel. And it's like, why were we getting cute here? This is a good draft. Just take a player, right? This is the stuff that drives me crazy about the Browns. And like, it even drives me crazier that Browns fans still go for this, given that we've lived through so many times where the trade back did not work out. Like, there's maybe been 1 decent trade back, and that trade back is debatable whether it was decent. And the only reason it was decent because it daisy chained it like 8 different trade backs, right? Like, and that's the Carson Wentz one that turned into the Texans trade back that turned into Denzel Ward somehow, right? Like, that's the only trade back I'm like, all right, that worked. And that was incredibly like rare circumstance that working out. And even then you can argue it didn't really work out because you could have probably gotten a lot more by just sitting and picking. But nonetheless, just take good players when they're there. I think there's a perfect example of this. I think in the 2020 draft, or no, it's a 20. Which one Devonta Smith went in? Is that 2022? It was right after COVID. They beat Ohio State. 2021 draft.
2021, I think.
It was the same draft as Mac Jones. So 2021. So 2021 draft. The 49ers, or some, I think the New England Patriots trade back in that draft,
Yeah.
and they trade back all the way, and they get like barely anything out of these trade backs that they did. And if you add up the approximate value of all the trade backs they did, it was like so much less than what they ended up drafting. And another thing to consider when you trade back, oftentimes you have to spend resources to trade up to get the guy that you actually think is in your range,
Yes.
right? So then you're wasting even more assets trying to adjust for it. Just take a good player or two, man. This is a year where there's two guys. You're going to get one of them. I'm happy with Abdul. I'm happy with Travis. Just take one of them, right? Don't try to get cute with this. Don't try to overthink it. And to Andrew Berry's credit, I think a lot of people put Sashi Brown's sins on him, but he has sat and picked with most of his premium selections, right?
Yeah.
50, 26, and 10, right? He has sat and picked at those selections where everybody was like, oh, he's going to trade back. So I hope that this is another year where he understands the value in sitting and picking and getting somebody good, because that is what the draft is supposed to be, right? You're not supposed to try to break it and game it and hope you get lucky by getting a couple scratch offs here and there.
Yeah. I'm with you 100%. And I think especially this year with the drop off and everything, and where there's clearly two elite players. But I do want to throw this one scenario at you, just because I've heard it mentioned a couple times. And what would you do? It's a trade back scenario. We're talking about trade backs. We know you don't want to do it. But what if it was Carolina wants to give you 8, 39, and their first round next year to come up to 2?
Yeah, they want to be stupid. Okay, whatever. Like, you get the extra first, right? Like, if somebody's offering you an extra first for a non-quarterback, yeah, like what? And it's Carolina, sure, right?
You gotta have that conversation, right? Yeah,
you take it, right? Like, as much as I don't like trade backs, again, the one scenario where it did work out is when somebody's willing to give you something stupid for a position player, right? So it's like, okay, if that's what you're trying to do, you want to move up, you believe in Travis that much that you want to do that. Cool, give us that pick, and then we'll slide back and take whoever's there at 8, because you're still staying within the top 10 of the draft. But if you're not getting a first back, like, then I don't even want to entertain it, right? Like, I don't care about getting an extra second. I want the first.
The first rounder next year, and what team it's from probably is the tipping point there, right? Because you want to, because then you know what I said before, the question about franchise quarterback comes into play majorly, because that gives you such spending power in next year's draft when we project a lot of guys to be available.
Yeah. And again, if that kind of scenario pops across the Browns' desk, then sure, consider it. But I think also, because it's pre-draft and we get into our own team bubbles, we really overestimate the potential of that kind of thing happening, because we say things like, oh, it only takes one team. But like, usually doesn't happen, right? So yeah, somebody wants to do that.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Then you go ahead and do that. I think Philadelphia did really well off a Jalen Waddle trade up for Miami, right? Where Miami traded an extra first to go get Jalen Waddle. If that's what the Carolina Panthers want to do, then let them do that. That's fine, right? As long as you're getting an extra first, you get some other stuff, cool, fine. That's okay there. But if you're not going to get that offer, and you can't count on that offer, and I think that's the thing I'm annoyed with the whole trade back conversation, is people are just counting on some ridiculous offer to come from a team. And I'm like, yeah, it might happen, but we can't just sit here and say the Browns should rely on that being an option, or even like act like that's a realistic thing that can happen. If it does, it does, be surprised. But if it's not there, then you can't just sit there and wait because you're like, oh man, let's hope that comes in. Like, no, just make the damn pick, you know? And move on with your day, instead of worrying if somebody's going to send you some kind of ridiculous offer that they've not really kicked the tires on up to this point.